Have you ever gone to bed angry at your spouse, wondering how a simple conversation about grocery shopping turned into World War III? What if I told you that the health of your marriage isn't determined by how few conflicts you have? It is not a matter of if you will have conflicts in your marriage, but when you do, how do you handle them? Well, in this episode, I will give you 7 powerful tips for managing conflicts in your marriage. These tips are battle tested strategies that we have used to transform our marriage and hundreds of other couples who we have worked with. So I want you to dive in with me, grab your seat, pull up your chair, and let us dive in on how we can turn conflicts into opportunities for growth in your marriage. Let's have this conversation. Welcome back. Well, the Bible tells us in Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26, be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Well, let's be real about it. This is much easier said than done, right? You know, I've been married for 31 years of marriage. And sometimes I go to bed back in the days angry at my wife. I remember those days. And it took years to master dealing with issues and not let them affect us to the point where we stop acting like we are husband and wives and start acting like enemies. Do you remember them days? I've been there. And we have coached hundreds of couples, my wife and I, and we have discovered that conflicts isn't the problem. It is how you respond. It is how you deal with conflict that makes all the difference. So, tip number 1, pray and ask God for insight. You know, in James chapter 1, verse 5, it says, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. And so the first and most critical step in managing conflicts is to pray. Now, I'm a Christian. I'm a kingdom man. So I believe that God set the president over everything in my life. He is the final authority, him and his word. And for some of you guys, that may not sound like the blueprint for dealing with conflicts, right? Well, that is because we think that we have the answer to everything that we go through, and we don't. We always need God's help. We always need the help of the Holy Spirit. That is the reason why in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, it tells us to trust in the Lord thy God with all our heart. We must lean not on our own understanding. In all our ways, we must acknowledge him, and he shall direct our path. You know, my friend, before attempting to resolve any issues with your spouse, take a moment to pray about it. You know, I had to pray about things in my marriage many times because I know if I start talking, I'm going to say the wrong thing. Hello, somebody. If I try to do it my way, I'm going to mess it up. And so I ask God for insight. I pray and ask God for discernment. I pray and ask God to give me the right information so that I can, present the conversation or present the right solution to the problem. I could not deal with it or some of these issues without God guidance and protection in my life. You know, when you pray about conflicts, here is what happened. God gives you wisdom beyond your own understanding. Your heart softened towards your spouse. You gain perspective on what's really important because some battles are not worth fighting. I've often maintained that argument is 10% is what's being said and 90% is how you respond to it. You invite the Holy Spirit into the situation. And my friend, I want to take this time to ask you a big favor. I want you to try this. The next time you feel tension rising, before you say a word, silently pray. Pray and say, Lord, give me wisdom to see this situation through your eyes. And that simple prayer have diffused countless arguments in our marriage. And remember, your spouse isn't the enemy. As Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12, it reminds us that we wrestle not or we struggle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against power. So your spouse and you shouldn't be going mano to mano. You should know that there's a warfare going on behind the scene, trying to destroy your marriage. And so, taking your conflicts to God first, acknowledge that you need is wisdom to navigate your marriage challenges. And tip number 2, attack the problem, not your spouse. One of the quickest way to escalate conflict is to attack your spouse instead of addressing the actual problem. You see, my friend, when you say, "You never help me around the house," you are attacking your spouse's character. That's criticism. It's always going to turn into an argument. But when you say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed with the housework and I would like us to really work together to find a better way that we can manage and share the load more evenly." When you do that, you are addressing the problem. You see, the difference is very crucial. You know, in Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 1, it tells us, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stirs up anger." Here is a practical tip that I want you to try. I want you to use the "I feel" statement instead of "you always" or "you never." This is a simple shift to keep the focus on the problem rather than placing blame on your spouse. And my friend, I want to ask you a big favor. If you're finding value in the tips that we are sharing here, I want you to do me a solid, do me a favor and hit that like button and share this video with a couple who might need these help, these tips. And if you're listening via podcast platform, please leave a review. Please share. Those reviews are helping us to grow here on these platforms. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the third tip. And that, my friend, is lead with love. How about that? In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through 7, it says that love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not boast. Love is not proud. Love does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. Love is not easily angered. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Hello? Love always hope. Love always persevere. Love always protects. That's love. You see, my friend, when conflict arises, your first response set the tone for the entire interaction. What if instead of defensiveness, your first response is with love? What if your first response is to see your spouse through a more meaningful, empathetic mindset? You see, my friend, leading with love means choosing to listen before speaking. It is about assuming the best of your spouse's intentions, not seeing the negative, not seeing the worst, but always trying to put yourself in their shoe. It's about responding with gentleness even when you feel attacked. It is remembering your spouse's value to you and to God. I want you to think about how Jesus responded when he was betrayed and attacked. Even in his moments of difficulty, even in those trying moments, he responded with love. The Bible tells us that we don't overcome evil with evil, but we overcome evil with love. We are called to do the same in our marriage. Tip number 4, no one wins in an argument. Have you ever noticed that when you have an argument with your spouse, you feel bad? Both of you guys end up being losers. Yes, that's because marriage isn't a competition. It's a partnership. It is a oneness covenant. And when one spouse wins and the other loses, you both lose. Your relationship suffers. Instead of trying to win, aim to understand. You know, in Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4, it said, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking at your own interests, but to each other interests." Hello? You must look at the interests of others. Look at the interests of your spouse. This shift in the mindset will transform how you approach conflict. Instead of preparing for your next point and what you're going to say next, just be focused and listen to your spouse. Be present and in the moment. You must actively listen to understand their heart. Try asking these questions. during conflicts, my friend. Honey, help me to understand why this matters so much to you. Ask, what are some of the ways that I can add value to your life? What are the reason why this is such a big concern for you? How can I find solution that works for the both of us? Remember, my friend, in a marriage, either you both win or you are both losers. Tip number 5, seek to learn from what happened. Every conflict in your marriage is an opportunity to grow both individually and as a couple. You see, the question is, will you seize the moment? Will you seize the opportunity to learn from the situations that happens in your marriage? When you're dealing with conflicts, listen, conflicts is not always bad for marriage. It is a sign that something needs to be worked on. It is a sign that change and modulation on temperature settings needs to happen. Proverbs 9 and verse 9 tells us, it instructs the wise and they will be wiser. Teach the righteous and they will add to their learning. So after resolving a conflict, take time to reflect on what you learned. What triggered the conflict? What can you do so that it doesn't happen again? What's underlying issue were revealed? How did your communication pattern help hinder the solution or fix the problem? What can you do differently next time so that you don't perpetually keep repeating the same thing over and over again? This reflective practice has transformed our marriage in so many different ways. And so instead of rehashing the same argument, we have learned from past conflicts and then we grow from them together. Some of our deepest connection have come right after going through a difficult situation or a disagreement. You break up to make up. Different situations also create a culture or an atmosphere where you start to feel that you need to add more value to your spouse. Tip number 6, show empathy. The Bible tells us in Romans chapter 12 and verse 15, rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It is about sharing the feeling of your spouse. It's about putting yourself in their shoe. When your spouse is upset, can you set aside your own perspective long enough to fully see their point of view, to fully see the things that concern them? Jesus modeled perfect empathy. He entered our world. He experienced our pain and he understood our struggle. We are called to do the same in our marriage. Here's how to practice empathy during conflicts. Well, listen without interruption. Yes, don't assume anything. Validate your spouse's feelings, even if you don't agree with their perspective. Ask questions that show you care about their experience. Reflect back on what you hear. Maybe you need to paraphrase. So what are you saying, honey? Are you saying such and such, so and so, blah, blah, blah? You know what I'm saying? You've got to paraphrase if you don't get all the data. When your spouse feels truly understood, when they feel heard, when they feel like they are being taken seriously, the defense go down and real communication begins to happen. And number 7, finally, repair and continue to love. Yes, your marriage needs to go to different stages, harmony, and then there's also disharmony. You repair those disharmony and then you create love again. Every conflict leaves some damage that needs to be repaired. And whether it is a small misunderstanding or a major breach of trust, the repair process, the repairing the process and going through the repair, it is essential to building a strong and a better relationship. Colossians chapter 3 and verse 13, it instructs us to bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, you must forgive as the Lord forgave you. Well, how do you repair? Repair, it includes sincere apology. Be specific, not generic. You know, the best apology is a changed behavior. Forgiveness is important to a marriage. There is no love without forgiveness, and there is no forgiveness without love. So you must decide to take ownership of what went wrong, reaffirming your commitment to each other. Tell your spouse, hey, man, this is hard, but it's not going to break us. We're going to get through this together. Take ownership, take responsibility, and then you learn and grow and heal and become better because of it. You must make amend where possible. If you do something that is not right, take ownership. I said that, right? Create a plan to prevent similar conflicts from happening over again. Learn from it, write it down, have a notebook, journal. The beauty of repair is that it often leads your relationship stronger. It leaves it becoming better because you learn from it. Like a broken bone that heals stronger at the point of fracture, your marriage can become more resilient through repair process and through building a stronger relationship. So let us recap real quick. The 7 principles of managing conflict in your marriage. Number 1, pray and ask God for insight. Number 2, attack the problem, not your spouse. Number 3, lead with love. Number 4, no one wins in an argument. Number 5, seek to learn from what happened. Number 6, show empathy. And number 7, repair and continue to love. The question is, how will you apply these principles to your marriage? I encourage you to discuss these tips with your spouse. And the question is, which one resonates with you the most? Which one seems more challenging for you? Making even the small change in your marriage based on how you handle conflict can transform your marriage. Remember, conflict isn't optional in a marriage, but growing through them and growing through conflict is a choice that you make together. Every disappointment is an opportunity to understand each other deeply and to love more profoundly and more fully. And if you're watching this video, I know you care deeply about your marriage. You want more in your relationship, and you want to avoid these silly arguments, and you want to thrive. You want to build a God-centered relationship that brings out the best in the both of you. And my friend, I want to share this with you. That's exactly why my wife and I created our marriage makeover coaching program. And in this 6-week program, we take you on a journey to help you as a spouse step by step through the transformation through communication pattern, deepening your intimacy and building a marriage that is not easily broken, a fulfilled, healthy marriage. And whether you are in a season of crisis or simply want to strengthen your marriage, a good marriage that you already have, our coaching program will give you the tools and the community and the biblical guidance that will take your marriage to the next level. And if you'd like to learn more about it, you can click the link in our description and you can book a free consultation with us so that you can learn more. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, please share. If you're listening via your favorite podcast platform, I would like you to give it a 5-star, leave a review. Thank you so much for watching. May God continue to bless you. And my friend, I cannot wait to see you in the next one.